Hello again, I'm Sui, a Foxhacker VTuber who just wants to keep the software running. So this video is going to be a bit different, a bit more improvised, a bit less scripted. It's not going to probably have any jokes in it, not that my previous video had many, but it's going to be mostly about how to use a component I wrote for LiveSplit, which connects LiveSplit to StreamerBot and allows to execute certain actions on the side of a StreamerBot based on your LiveSplit states. If you don't know what LiveSplit is, you are probably not a speedrunner, in which case you're probably not going to find this video very interesting. But if you are a speedrunner and you would like to execute certain actions based on your LiveSplit states, then have a seat, and I'm just going to explain to you how to install it, how this idea came to be, and going to give you some examples on how to use it. So first off, this idea came originally from a project which was called LiveSplit VTS. It was a component which is for connecting LiveSplit to VTube Studio and allowing to execute certain actions in VTube Studio. Problem is, a lot of VTubers are not speedrunners. Actually, there's quite a bit of speedrunners who are programmers, but VTubers who are speedrunners who are also programmers, there is probably not that many of us. So that if I have a component which was using Lua, it would be really hard to use. So at one point recently, the idea came to my mind, and it was, what if I just make a component that connects a LiveSplit to StreamerBot? Because a lot of people actually know how to use StreamerBot, even though they are not programmers, and they can set up basic if-else statements and probably get a bit creative with information they receive from LiveSplit. First step, how do you install this? And to install this, you go to LiveSplit's StreamerBot GitHub page, and then you download the latest release, which is in here, which is going to be probably newer after this video. And then after it's downloaded, you extract the file, you open your LiveSplit directory, you go to components folder in LiveSplit directory, and then you move the file or copy the file to the components folder, and that's it in terms of how you install this for LiveSplit. Then you have to install this for StreamerBot, and to install this for StreamerBot, it's fairly simple. You just go to a wiki page under my LiveSplit StreamerBot GitHub page, and then you copy this string, then you open up StreamerBot, do import, and then you paste that in. And then you can see it's going to import a lot of the actions that's going to be available for you. And it's also going to import a WebSocket, which is going to be used to connect LiveSplit to a StreamerBot. So after you have that imported, you should go to server/clients, custom WebSocket servers, and then there should be a LiveSplit socket in here. If you have more than one WebSocket, you might have to edit the port in here. But if this is your only custom WebSocket, then you just right click on it and then you start it. I already have it started, so I don't have to start it. Then you open up LiveSplit, you edit your layout, you do plus button, which is add component, then other, then StreamerBot connection. Then you type in the address with the port that you have set up in here, and then you do connect. If everything worked as intended, you should see that it changed the status to connected, and then you can just click OK and OK. Then if you go into your StreamerBot, into actions and queues and action history, then you should see that there was an event which was LiveSplit connected, and then there was also an event right after that which was splits updated. What split updated is going to actually have a lot of the information that is going to receive from LiveSplit. You can easily see now that it has all of your current splits with your current best times in both in game time and in real time. And it also has information, for example, like splits count, and then game name, category, and then there is the event type. So before I show you some examples, if we go to actions, there is those actions that we have imported. The _main event is one that you should not be editing, but nothing stopping you if you know what you're doing. If you look up the execute code, It's essentially deserializing a JSON that it receives from LiveSplit, and then it is responsible for setting up arguments that are going to be available for you in a StreamerBot. Then, based on ls event type, it's going to do a switch case, and then it's going to call one of the actions that are going to be available in here, with the exception, of course, of the main event and then the ls split connected and disconnected, because these ones are executed when the socket connects or it disconnects. And if you're going to set up any of those actions, you should probably set them up inside of these actions. So, for example, if we go to splits updated, a thing we can do, if we look up what we have just received, is there is a game name in here. There we go. We can copy this variable name and go to actions and then do Twitch game. Okay, so Twitch channel, set channel game. And then we can do %, paste the variable name %, and then click OK. So what this will do right now is when you switch splits, it's going to set the category to the game name that is available in LiveSplits. So if I do open up splits Deus Ex and then go to my dashboard and then to Stream Manager, you should see that it actually changed the game to Deus Ex. And if I do this to Hrot and then refresh, then you can see that it already changed the game to Hrot. So that's one of the example cases. What you can also do if you want something more advanced, you can also do set title, so Twitch channel set channel title, and then do, for example, % and ls game name %, and then % ls dot category %. And then if we switch splits again to, for example, Hrot, I don't think that worked. I think we switched splits to the same splits. Okay, never mind. It did work. It changed the title of a stream to Hrot any % as well. It's not super useful, but it essentially shows you one of the ideas you could do. You can also, for example, do it in a way where if you split, it's going to switch your title. And now I'm going to attempt and show you how to, for example, set up predictions based on your LiveSplit states. We'll see how this goes. All right, so I'm going to try and set up a prediction that's going to resolve itself based on your split states and based on whatever you actually be or not. And I'm going to do it on once I reach the episode 2 in splits. So if I split now so that I enter episode 2, you can see that there was an action which is on split green. I'm going to copy, I'm going to inspect variables after the run, and you can see that there's like all of these variables names in here. So I'm going to go now to actions, and in on split green, I'm going to add if else block. As an input name, I'm going to just type in for now whatever, and I'm going to move this if else block ahead of a switch case. And this is not going to be needed later. I just have to figure something out in a StreamerBot later. But anyhow, I'm just going to type. I'm just going to copy a name of a split, which is ls current split name. So copy variable name. I'm going to go to input and then a percentage, paste that. So ls current split name and then %. And then I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to copy its value. So I'm going to just copy the value from ls current split name, going to edit that again, and then set it to equals, and then paste the name of a split. So now this true statement is going to be executed only when the name of a split is E2M1 Tocznik Castle. I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing this correctly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a prediction. So prediction, create prediction, okay. And we're going to type in a name of a prediction. So is Sui going to PB with options yes, no, and then going to type in the length of a prediction, and then going to move it to a true block, and that's it. So now if I undo a split and split again, you can see that the prediction was created. So I'm going to pause this. Thing is, this is only going to execute when I'm ahead of a PB. So I will have to copy this and go to onSplitRed and paste that also in onSplitRed. So it's going to execute also when I am behind the PB, when I reach Toczni Castle. And then of course I'm going to move it ahead as well. So now the thing is, I am going to do an event which is going to be on reset. So now I'm going to resolve the prediction, which is going to be on reset. So if you reset, we're going to assume that you have not PB'd. So we're going to type in resolve prediction, resolve last prediction, and I'm going to type in an ID with which we resolve. So we're going to resolve it with ID of 1 because 0 was yes and 1 was no. And then we're going to click OK. So now if I reset, it should resolve the prediction essentially with the result of no. Thing is, this is probably not going to work because never mind, it does work, never mind. So it can actually be resolved even though the prediction is not locked. Okay, so now we're going to copy the same action and we're going to go to on run finish without PB and paste that in here and also move it ahead of this block, and that's not going to be needed later. And then we're going to also go to on run finished with PB and paste that in here. Same thing, going to move it ahead of this block. This is not going to be needed later. It's just I have to resolve some things in a StreamerBot. And then we're going to change the ID to 0. So now if we reset a run, it's going to be resolving a prediction with a result of no. If we finish a run without the PB, it's also going to be resolving with no. And if we finish with PB, it should resolve it with yes. So let's see if this works. So if I go and split multiple times, it should start the prediction. There we go. The prediction was started. And then if I split it multiple times and then run finished, there we go. Prediction ended, see results, and then it actually shows. If I move myself to the middle, you can see in there in the corner that it was resolved with yes. So now if we do the same thing, except we go back to this split, so we should start the prediction and I'm going to reset now. There we go, the prediction was ended, and then we can see that the result of a prediction was actually no. So it worked. It worked as intended. So that's another way you can, for example, use this. Which, if you're using an overlay and sending information to overlay from StreamerBot, what you could also do is, instead of trying to handle some of the arguments you receive, what you can also do is go and edit the code in the main event and then comment this line out, which sets the data field to null because it already parsed all of the information, and then save. And then if we split right now and pause it, if we go and to actions history to onSplit green, you can see now that the data field is actually containing information. And then we copy this and then go to Notepad and then paste that in. You can see how much information you can get all of the information in a JSON and parse it on the side of a JavaScript of a page that you're using as your stream overlay, assuming you are actually using it. So there we go. I hope this gives you a glimpse of what's possible when you're using this project, and I hope you find it useful. I would appreciate some feedback. And as always, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.